Welcome to the Algona Wetland Preserve Design Workshop. I'm Tiernan Martin with FutureWise. In this video, we'll introduce you to the project team and give you some background information about the wetland itself. We have a lot of ground to cover, so settle in and let's get started. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the Algona Wetland is part of the traditional land of the Coast Salish peoples, specifically the Lushootseed-speaking ancestors of today's Muckleshoot. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the Muckleshoot tribe. We thank them for their wisdom and resilience in stewarding this land, and aspire to uphold our responsibilities according to their example. Before we dive into the project details, let's first talk about the partnership behind the project. Our team is made up of 4 organizations: the City of Algona, FutureWise, Natural Systems Design, and Blue Line Group. FutureWise and Natural Systems Design worked together to create this workshop. Let's bring in Tori Lighting to tell us about how the Algona Wetland Preserve project got started.
The City of Algona's Wetland Preserve is an area of land that has been part of the vision for Algona for more than about the last 10 years. The mayor, Dave Hill, has been pretty instrumental in helping the city acquire this parcel and is really interested in expanding the recreational opportunities, educational opportunities for residents and for citizens in the neighboring areas, and to do that in a way that's sensitive and helps to preserve and protect this rare example of a floodplain wetland within a pretty urbanized area. So you can see here the kind of development, the level of development, right, that has occurred in Algona and Pacific to the south and to the east, and kind of the island of habitat that the Algona Preserve offers, and its kind of proximity to other forested areas within a pretty otherwise developed corridor. This is just a slightly different top-down view of the city's parcel, the adjacent parcels that are undeveloped, and there's a 4th parcel to the west that is also undeveloped. The city's parcel here, the Algona Wetland Preserve that we're really focusing on tonight, has a creek, a remnant of a creek channel that runs through and continues offsite to the west and then eventually flows south into the White River. The parcel itself is undeveloped. There's a little bit of an upland berm that runs along the south edge of the creek channel. The berm is just an elevated upland area that is raised up, so it's not as wet, and it offers a little bit of an access corridor into the wetland under the current existing conditions. So wetlands are an important feature of the landscape, and I think wetlands are often also called things like marshes or swamps or bogs. Those are all terms that you hear generally for different kinds of wetlands. In the Algona Wetland Preserve, this is really what's called a forested and a scrub shrub wetland. And scrub shrub really just means shorter trees, right? So more of the shrubby plants and fewer of the single-stemmed, tall, typical trees. So this wetland preserves both of those communities as well as the stream channel that runs down the center of it. And the reason that wetlands are, that the city has preserved this wetland and that wetlands in general are considered critical areas and in important parts of our landscape is not only that they provide habitat, for a wide diversity of wildlife species, including birds and mammals that are adapted to urban environments. The creek channel itself provides habitat for some native fish species, but wetlands also have a landscape function that's important in that they act as giant sponges. So during periods of heavy precipitation and elevated groundwater, the wetlands hold on to some of that water and they help to slow it down versus water falling on a pavement surface that just runs right off. In a wetland area, the water soaks in, it fills up the sponge holds the water for a period of time, and this helps not only to improve water quality by holding on to impurities and sediment and pollution, but it also helps to reduce flooding. If you picture what happens during a heavy rainstorm, right, the roads flood, there's nowhere for that water to go. It can't soak in, it just builds up and builds up. Wetland areas hold that water, they prevent it from running off immediately, and thus they can help slow down and lower flood elevations. Wetlands are also, in addition to the habitat benefit that I mentioned, they can be great recreational resources for bird watching, for walking and hiking, and just reflecting upon the natural world. And the plants that dominate wetlands, as well as the soils, capture a lot of carbon out of the air. So they have a role to play as a component of carbon sequestration and resiliency to climate change.
Thanks for watching. Check out the workshop website for instructions on how to participate. For updates on the project's progress, visit the project website. If you have questions, feel free to get in touch by sending an email to tiernan@futurewise.org.